Power clap on 3. 1, 2.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
What is going on, everybody? My name is John Solo, and this will be the last episode of Ask Me Anything that I filmed down in Florida. If you've tuned into the Patreon podcast over the past few weeks, then you probably already know this, but for those of you who haven't, I'll fill you in. Early next week, I will be emigrating from the Sunshine State and moving back to my homeland, the halfway decent state of Illinois. As you can tell, the shelf behind me is a little more barren than usual. It's about the only thing within this shot that I've actually packed up because I still wanted it to look pretty decent for the last AMA. But as soon as I'm done filming this episode, about everything that you're looking at behind me is either going to be taken apart, packed up, or sold. Now, in the interest of efficiency and total transparency, I do want to get this episode wrapped up pretty quickly because I still have a lot of packing to do and a lot of work left as well. So instead of doing a long, rambly intro, we're just going to dive right into the questions, and hopefully my answers will be less rambly than usual, but we'll see. I thought this question would be a good one to start off with given the occasion. What prompted you to move to Florida? Well, for those of you who are unaware, the entire Midwestern United States has absolute weather. The summers are unforgivably hot and humid, the winters are ridiculously cold, and I figured I could move somewhere where one of those wasn't going to be an issue. I absolutely hate cold weather, and one day it dawned on me that because of the nature of my job, I could work just about anywhere. The cost of living in Florida is relatively cheap, or not even relatively, just really cheap. Around that time when I was trying to figure out the next step in my life's plan, I had some buddies from high school who hit me up and were like, hey, we're moving down to Florida and we need some roommates. How about you be the guy? And to me, that sounded like a pretty good opportunity to escape the weather that actually caused me to get into a car accident on Christmas Eve, as well as an opportunity to save as much money as possible while I work as hard as I can on this YouTube thing. So I moved down here, started hustling, and here we are today. What is a requested messed up origins topic that you will never do because of various reasons? Is there an origin story that's too messed up to tell? I've definitely answered this question before, but I get it a lot, and it was like 2 of the top rated questions on this community post, so I figured I would reiterate what I said last time and maybe expand on that answer. First off, no, there's really no messed up origin story that I've come across where I was like, nah, this is way too dark for my audience to handle. In all seriousness, the more messed up a story is, the more excited I am to cover it. The only story I've ever been a little nervous about covering was the Pocahontas episode, and that's obviously because it's a very politically charged subject, and as a white guy, I'm very limited in the subjects that I can talk about without receiving backlash, at least from unreasonable people who think that your skin color determines what you can and cannot have an opinion on. But in terms of subject matter, there is one topic that I really want to cover that I think would be very interesting, but I'm pretty certain I would get backlash for, again, as a straight white guy, and that is the messed up origins of words you can't say. Obviously, I'm not going to give any examples in this video because I can't say them, but I'm sure a few come to your mind. I think that topic would be super fascinating and a lot of people would get enjoyment out of it, but I'm also fairly certain that I would lose all monetization on that video, probably wouldn't get a sponsor, and I just think I would be in the center of some controversy if I did. I mean, I've never really been in a controversy before, so it's about time that happens, so maybe I will, maybe I won't, but there would be a small group of way oversensitive people going shot for shot, scrutinizing the way that I phrase every single sentence because I didn't say this word in a negative enough way, like I didn't frame it in a negative enough light, or maybe I said this word's origins weren't as terrible as some people thought that it was, and actually it used to be a straight up medical term, or it used to be even a positive term before it was turned negative. You can't just be objective anymore. Even though I would totally present the information in an objective, educational way, people would be like, he had the balls to talk about it, let's get him. They'd be like, what do you mean the origins aren't bad? Does that mean that you think the word isn't bad now? Do you think that that means people should call their children that? That's just how that would work because that's how people are nowadays. And it's very frustrating to me as someone who just wants to be an objective educator and inform people about the messed up origins of our society and culture, but whatever. At a certain point, I'm probably just gonna say, f it, let's do it. How many hours do you put into your research? How does your typical week flow regarding reading up on a subject? It's definitely different for every video. I would say that now it takes less time than ever just because I've really gotten the hang of where I can find useful information, how to summarize that information for my notes, and how to articulate it in a way that's very effective for the video. I usually start writing at the end of the second day because I want to get the introduction done, and maybe if it's a Disney video, get the recap of the movie done. After I get all the information, I do have to figure out the structure for the order that I want to present it in. I would say every video takes about 50 to 60 hours to create between researching, writing, filming, editing, gathering pictures and media for the editing. So that's why I usually only get one video out a week. It takes about 5 to 6 days of consistent 10-hour shifts to make each episode if I want each one to be fully researched and to reach its max potential. If I didn't care about consistent quality, I could probably make it in about 4, but as I'm doing the creative process, usually I will get to a point where I'm like, should I include this joke? It will require some extra editing, or should I include this extra story because it's gonna take longer to film and it's gonna take longer to edit as a result. But then I think, well, if I do this extra thing, it might make the video 1% better, and if I do 10 things that make the video 1% better, then it makes the video 10% better. And as a result, it might get 10% more views, and those will add up across time. How messed up are your origins? To be completely honest, not very messed up. I mean, I grew up somewhere that I absolutely hated, a very small rural farm town in Illinois with a population of less than 1,500 people. Everyone there was very close-minded and strongly disliked anyone who thought differently than them. So naturally, I made a point to think aggressively different than them and let them know I thought different than them. It made me quite a few enemies, but it also made me some very good friends, people that I am still really close with to this day, so proud of that, for sure. But outside of that, I had a very good home life, close relationships with about all of my siblings. So yeah, on the surface level, everything was pretty great. I'd have to go into a lot more detail to really explain some of my personal struggles growing up there and some of the drama I had to endure as somebody who thought different than everyone else, and by that I mean wasn't racist, didn't like sports, and didn't like country music, but I'll be going into all that at some other time. Why don't you do a messed up series for Star Wars, where you take 10 minutes or something to talk about one specific Star Wars character? That's a really good idea and something I definitely wanted to do throughout pretty much this entire year. It's just really a matter of finding the right window of opportunity. It's just that since The Last Jedi came out, I really haven't enjoyed talking about Star Wars publicly because everybody has really strong opinions about what Disney is doing with the franchise, and if you dare say a single word that doesn't align with what they think, you're an idiot and you're wrong and you're gonna get dislikes on your video. I do think that's gonna change a little bit when The Rise of Skywalker comes out and we see what this trilogy story was actually supposed to be. To kind of ease myself back into the Star Wars universe, I started reading the book they released last month, Star Wars Myths and Fables, and I would really like to talk about it on the channel sometime soon, to break down the individual stories in that book and the characters they involved and the species and the planets, and also what archetypes they used and what other famous fairy tales used those same archetypes. I think that would be a very cool video, so let me know what you guys think about that, and if it goes over well, maybe I'll start talking about Star Wars a little more consistently. Have you considered writing your own fairy tale? Yes, I absolutely have. I'll admit I haven't really thought about it past the surface level because I just haven't had time or necessarily the desire. That's definitely something that's on my agenda, I just don't know when it's gonna happen. Are you the life of the party? Because you seem to be chugging down whatever is in that massive red Solo cup. I wouldn't say I'm the life of the party. I've definitely gone to parties before and been a feature there, been the entertainment for a small group of people, whether I was telling a funny story or going on a rant or doing something totally ridiculous. Those are stories I'll probably get into in a video where I know my mom isn't watching. Hi, Mom. But I don't know, I'm 24 years old, my college days are behind me, I don't really enjoy the taste of alcohol, nor do I enjoy the effects of it either in the moment or the day after. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to knock anybody who enjoys a good drink every once in a while. I wish that I was one of those people. It's just that personally, it's not my drug of choice. I think it does way more harm than it does good, and there's plenty of alternatives out there that are cheaper and better for you in the long run. All that being said, I do enjoy social environments and I love entertaining people, so if I go to a party or if I'm hanging out with my inner circle and we're doing a cabin retreat or something like that, I love standing up, telling people a little story, making them laugh, and having a good time. Aliens or spirits? I don't know exactly what your question is here. Are you asking me which one I believe in more, or which one I would rather be real, or which one I enjoy stories about more? When it comes to the typical way of thinking about aliens or ghosts, I would say that aliens existing is a more likely possibility, but I wouldn't say that I don't believe in ghosts at all, or that they definitely don't exist. I wouldn't be surprised if there was different planes of existence that we humans aren't able to pick up on, and that ghosts and spirits could exist on one of them. I'm pretty open-minded about that stuff because when it comes down to it, I'm a monkey who doesn't really know shit about anything that doesn't have a direct impact on my life. So who am I to say what does or doesn't exist? And now for the final question, I would love to hear a few episodes on real historical events that have changed over time through retelling and mistranslations. I wouldn't trust anyone else with that task. Would that be something you'd ever be interested in doing? Not only is that something I would be interested in doing, I plan on doing that. Sometime by the end of the year, hopefully within the next couple of months, I want to do a trial episode on a random historical event. Without giving away too much, there's a few topics bouncing around in my head that I really want to discuss, and I want to break down their most messed up details, as well as compare the public perception of what happened with what actually happened. I am very hyped to once again be expanding the Messed Up Origin series, but it is a very large undertaking and one that I want to do right. So it's going to be some time before we can really get into it, but a trial episode will be coming up in the next month or two if things go as planned. Anyway, Solo fam, that will be it for this episode of Ask Me Anything. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to all of you who submitted questions. There was over 200 of you, so I'm sorry I couldn't get to all of them, but you know, there was over 200 of you, so how could I possibly? Although this is the last AMA I'm doing down here, I'm not going to get too sappy with this outro because I'm going to get kind of sappy in the update video I've got coming out next week. But in case you don't plan on watching that, though I would really appreciate it if you would, I just want to say thank you all so much for the support that you've offered over the past year. It's been about a year of incredible growth, incredible success. As much as I wanted it to turn out as it did, I didn't totally know what to expect when I moved down here, and we're shattering all the milestones and goals that I've set. So seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Until next time, my name is John Solo, and remember, John shot first.